Agrawal. I'm the founder editor of Banking Frontiers magazine. We have been doing the magazine since 2001. No, 2002. The company started in 2001. And what a fantastic journey. The financial sector has kept us literally, didn't give us any chance to sleep because there's so much happening. So when we started the magazine in 2002, core banking was kind of the big thing that was happening. And every bank was announcing some major core banking initiative or completion of the initiative. And then so many things are happening. So a lot of updates get published in the magazine, but people like to, there's a human nature, I think all of us like to talk to each other. And so, while there are seminars and conferences, we find this kind of forum to be much more interactive. So since 2004, I think we started doing roundtables like this on a wide variety of topics. Security, AI, marketing, credit cards, credit. So that's the topic, maximizing AI outcomes. Why maximizing? Because it may not necessarily give you the outcome that you expect. There may be some speed breakers on the way. The AI may take you in a direction from which you'll have to come back, just like getting lost on a road. So at a B2C level, you can get lost and come back, or in the office you cannot. If you have a business proposal worth 100 crores and AI messes it up, you can't just leave it. So it has to be done carefully. It's all experimental, people have to learn. Even the guys who are at Microsoft and Google and whatnot are also experimenting. Some experiments succeed, some fail. So the forum is here today then to help us learn from each other, to learn collectively. And so that we can take back and learn from the experiments of others, from the initiatives of others, and have a higher degree of confidence on the steps that the organization takes to leverage AI, so that it gives the best output, so that it is compliant, so that there are no penalties or comments from the regulator, all those kind of outcomes. So before we act, so I have prepared a series of questions like this, 7-8 questions, and we will go through each of them, spend maybe 5 to 10 minutes on each. But before we do that, let us introduce ourselves to each other.
So myself, I am leading the strategy business at Roundtable.
Welcome.
Hi all, this is Pradeep Singh. I am the CEO for NetFM Agricultural Financing Agency. We are basically into financing drip irrigation system. It's a captive NBFC.
Hi, good evening everybody. My name is Shekhar Subramanian. I head structured finance at FedBank Financial, which is a subsidiary of the Federal Bank Limited. I also look after co-lending and other partnerships as well.
My name is Ajit Bhaskar. I am with SBI General. I am taking care of the MFI cooperatives and the rural business for MFI for SBI General as of now.
Hi everyone, my name is Santosh and I head Catnip Infotech. We are one of the IBM partners for in the AI solutions.
So my name is Pragnesh. I head gold loans in SBFC Finance Limited.
Good evening everyone. My name is Saloni. I'm from IBM. It's a pleasure to be here. I take care of complete AI suite for West region from IBM front end.
My hobbies again kind of more lazy, and watching movies is what I do most.
We have companies, great.
Yeah.
Good evening everyone. My name is Arjun Joseph. I'm the founder of BankNext.
I'm Atul Doshi from Kalendra Circle Bank. Presently being a small cooperative bank, I am leading 4 or 5 items in the company.
Good evening everyone. My name is Anil Bose. I work for Greater Bank and I had marketing and digital business over there.
Good evening everyone. I'm Dr. M.D. Pai. I am presently holding the position of CEO in GP Passive Bank. Business size of 7,000 crores. It's a multi-state bank. And basically I am a cooperative banker. I have completed 46 years in the cooperative banking industry.
And my name is Suresh Panna. I head the microfinance and secured loan business for certain credit care Tata Capital.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Senthil Raja. I am from L&T. I represent a business unit called L&T Supreme, which is an e-commerce vertical of Last Group. One of the offerings what we do in L&T Supreme is give funding for MSMEs and various facilities to the industry.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Raghavendra Salian. I am working in Malad Sarkari Bank, credit officer.
So I'm going to start with this. AI, unlike big things like core banking or treasury or internet banking, there are clearly two parts to it, front end and back end. And both are quite different. So maybe we can start with one example from each of you of what you're doing or would like to do at the front end and what would you like to do using AI. And by AI, I mean mostly generative AI, but could be other types of AI as well. So if you can, anyone wants to start with and share one example, what would make sense at the front end for your organization, and one thing at the back end. Who would like to start?
I will break the ice.
Please, thank you.
So I talk about backend. Okay, backend AI, how we have used it. So we have connected our data engine and all real-time, transactions with ChatGPT and other, workings, wherein we get a real-time data of all branches, including mortgage and gold loans we do. Okay, these are the two products that we have. So what we have connected is any transaction which is happening in branch or at a regional level or at an office level, we can, watch a real-time data with the help of ChatGPT and the dashboard that we have prepared with the help of that. That is helping us to catch the right branch or right employee. It is from employee level to national level. So it helps us to catch the right employee, whether he has done anything till 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock. And any branch which are not doing transaction till 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. So catching the right location, right people, right person, and making them aware that what to do. So this has helped a lot. Real-time response is what AI can help. This is what we have learned, and we are trying to maximize it. Let's see how far.
And when did you start this project?
This we have started for 1.5 months back.
Oh, very
December end.
And it's working as you expected?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I am happy to catch the right.
You're making people run, like you said. Who else wants to share an example? Front end or back end? Yes, Swapnil.
So I think a couple of things I would look forward for, and I think the most important item is to have a analysis for an investor when he comes at the initial time. A lot of people talk equity, but what kind of right equity should be bought and what kind of equity should be there, what kind of equity should be sold at what time. That kind of predictive analysis we are working on, and we look forward for that kind of thing. And as he rightly said, there has to be all data mapping in the back end, and till the time those data points are not available, you cannot really read what is required to the customer. At very limited data points, you cannot give that predictive analysis properly. So we are at that stage, we are working on such kind of items where we can come forward and give the more and more solutions to the customers.
First fix the back end, develop the back end, and then the front end part. Okay, that sounds good. Any other perspective, any other use case?
There is no use case as such, because since we are not using in production right now, but we are using as on a memory server. But this type of things, normally when we are dealing as a banker, we need to have that human behavioral pattern of the customers. Based on the cash management and all those things which are going to be otherwise a direct investment if you have on a larger scale at your organization. So we are using in a different way wherein we need to have that AI-based cash management or human behavior patterns probably here, and it maximize or optimize cash management. But I don't think that so tool is going to be there as of now, but the fine tune is still going on. But we are thinking on that. That is one. And the second one is that we are working on that EWS part for early warning signals.
Okay.
So we are using, because ultimately it is going to be a machine learning which rules we are going to give. It is going to give you output. But these are the two things which we are primarily looking at. I don't know whether cost and the practical output is going to be there very soon, because unless we are confident in it, we cannot go to the production. Because once we go to the production, we have to use it, and either you have to convince it or you have to accept it.
Right, that's right.
Just a question.
Early warning signal is something that when you are offering a loan, particularly your facilities, in those cases, RBI itself has some 80 odd early warning signals wherein account goes into APA or deteriorating asset quality class. So these early warning signals gives you an input wherein you can easily find out those kind of people or those kind of loans, and you can catch them out at very early stage before they slip into it. No, it is after approval, after giving the facility, when they are using it. See, normally this floating facilities comes into picture when they are already 90 days past. And once it is 90 days past, it is very difficult to respond to that. Because either they have siphoned out, they are going somewhere else, or they are built for defaults. So they have to find it out at very early stage.
And that's why it's called early warning.
Just wanted to talk about
Yes, sir.
front-end, very basic thing like that virtual assistant which is used to address the employee queries.
AI is helping for a lot of cross-sell opportunities or upsell opportunities. A lot of cohorts are being used, certain age, married, 2 kids. This is the revenue structure. So maybe this renewal is going to be due, or whether it's going to default. Those understandings are being brought. I've been a part of a study or a discussion where AI can underwrite a policy where a customer is based out of a pin code based location. Maybe the air quality, the water quality will tell what will the claim probability, or if there is a claim probability in the particular pin code location. So the customizations are being brought, but there are also regulatory issues on that, and also the concerns whether the actual pin code collection or the Aadhaar card which I have, which is used as a proof, is a relevant source of correct information. So a lot of things are being evaluated in the insurance industry. AI is playing a major role in the insurance industry. A lot of things are being understood. They are trying to reach out to customers. Customer behavioral pattern is being understood. Because reaching out all over our country of 1.5 billion people, the market is there. People are there. People want to buy insurance, and the scope is there. But reaching out, AI is going to be a tool. A lot of customizations are being there. Innovation is being there. A lot of inputs are being put into place. A formal AI, I'm not sure whether insurance industry has accepted or no. We do not have information on that. I do not have information on that. But everybody is exploring. Everybody is trying to understand, because that is how we will be able to reach that number of customers. This is on a general perspective, not on my company's perspective. Thank you.
So again, not for my company, as I said, we are a captive small unit, so we are still relying on the natural intelligence. Artificial is yet to come. We have a client base where the digital world itself is a roadblock sometimes, because a person who's not handy with even the basic digital things, they don't rely upon it. They need a human interface to accept something. I'll give you an example that a customer where we had a digital signing of the documents, we sent him. Now he was so scared, I can't open any link, sir. You have to give me physical document only. I will only sign that. So it's a base because see in urban area also people have reliability issues. So think about the rural customers. His understanding of this is quite different.
But are there like use cases where, let's say based on alternate data, that you could use AI in some way?
See, I will say that going forward, it has to be the need of the hour because when I talk about rural, the number of clientele is so high, handling them and their varied requirement. See, for a simple, I think Narenji will agree that when you make rural products, a Punjab farmer versus a Tamil Nadu farmer, the requirement completely changes. Somebody has to understand it in their manner. Now, you can't have human capital which can handle all that. System can do that for you. The only thing is, I personally feel whether we have graduated to that level that we can give it to the system right now. See, at the end of the day, we are into a business of money. Today, there are eyes to check and cross-check. And that's why you have multiple eyes in banks. You deploy extra human capital to be safe. Many a times, loosely, when we discuss, we say that was in a quick mortality case. Today, you have to hold somebody responsible for it. Tomorrow, when system is taking the call, whom should I take responsibility?
That's a problem with AI. There's no...
See, the IT guys will come and say, oh, it was a bug. But now my money has been disbursed. Today only, I think there was a news flash where Citibank accidentally has transferred 81 trillion in somebody's account. $280, they have transferred $81 trillion. I think how many India they have transferred, they have to calculate. So when you hear all that in the business of money, trust is of paramount importance.
There's no point having efficiency if you're using some lot of money. There's no point. Sounds good. I think those are good examples. We can take one final example so that we can move on.
What AI is bringing in our context is a deep degree of personalization, which earlier was not possible, and I wouldn't attribute it only to AI. Right? There was enough of automation already available from a segmentation perspective, and to the extent running manual processes. Right? This was already achieved with something like event-driven marketing. Right? And there is also data which essentially feeds in information about what somebody is doing on a screen while they experience that screen. Now, for somebody to sit and analyze all of this information and then take a call and create a cohort was humanly impossible. Right? And so I think there were tools that we were already using from this cohortization perspective. And now, just to kind of give you the context in terms of the volume of data, right? I think our cloud servers get about 7 billion hits a month. Right? So even if we have to process that in some sort of, I wouldn't even call it an Excel sheet, right? Or a database, it's next to impossible. So I think the good thing was we were part of Google's AI cohort. That kind of helped us put a lot of these things into perspective. The other great degree of flexibility that's come in, and again I wouldn't purely give it to AI, is there is a fair degree of automation that is allowing cohort-wise communication in the app itself, which essentially says that if this is the behavior you're demonstrating, then essentially this is what you see. Right? And this is not just from an app perspective, it's websites, it's everything, and essentially it lets you A/B test at each of these levels. And at some point, maybe even 6 months ago, I would think, yeah, this is not possible. But AI and automations constantly surprising you every day. So these are some things that are happening. So essentially what this will mean is you will see only those products that are mapped and we believe are relevant to you. Right? And it is all being done digitally. The servicing does not need to be done digitally. The servicing can be manual at the end. It can take as much time as it needs to take at the back end. But having said that, what we will show you will be completely relevant to you. Now, this is going to the next level today, right? And this is just, so today somebody from my team walk in and says, I need you to give me a 2-minute video of you talking in English, and you can talk about any topic you want. I was like, how are you going to use this? So he talks about an AI application which is available, which basically then mimics how you speak. So what he's saying is, based on cohorts, once I have got a video of you talking, I can then put whatever script is there at the back end, and it will be you talking to the customer. And he's saying this is great to build trust and confidence in the customer.
Yeah.
Right? So these are things that, and I was like, is this an Indian app? Or is it a Chinese app? Is it an American app? What is it? Right? Because I think these are the questions that we need to ask more of, right? Before we jump into anything AI. The third thing which has happened is marketing, my word. It's put photographers out of business, for sure. It could soon put videographers out of business. And it is phenomenal, right? I had my brand head come to me saying, we're doing a brand revamp, we have to do a photo shoot. These are the top photographers, this is what they're charging. And so we've got a guy who looks at all of this for us. We're like, why don't you spend one day and see what's happening? So we asked for reference shoots. AI can describe to AI what we want from that shot. And it can create better pictures with subjects and backgrounds from multiple pictures, with the lighting, with the depth, with the camera angles that you want.
Yeah.
Why do you need photographers anymore? Right? So I think all of this is becoming a possibility. On the video side, I think...
Let's try to cap it at 2 minutes.
On the video side, I think there's a little bit more to go. But all of this is becoming a reality which earlier you would not have thought as possible.
In fact, you remember in Banking Frontiers, we published an article based on inputs from Fino Payments Bank, where they simulated a shop. So they were doing this ad for Independence Day. So they simulated a Fino outlet, how it would look like in 1947. The people wearing that kind of clothes at that time, and how the market would look like. And it really made you feel like going back in history to 1947. And AI can do those kind of things. So that has nothing to do with banking. But a bank is using that technology as a part of its marketing and customer engagement. So like you described, Aljog, you can actually be very creative about using AI and not just automate or hyper-automate the existing things. But let's move on. I think these are very good examples. We've kind of laid a common foundation for all of us. So the next thing is actually what are the expected gains? The gains are still not tangible, but what are the parameters on which you would like to measure? Is it speed? Is it ROI? Is it customer confidence? Is it retaining customers? Is it renewals? What are the parameters and what kind of results can you expect? Or are you actually getting something?
We are not, I already told that we are not started yet, but this can be more effective and intelligent in back-end business rather than front-end business. Because whatever the customer base you have, more the customer base you have, it is difficult to handle those data on a daily basis. And you require more human power. So instead, if you have this kind of intelligence into your systems, which is related with the production data, then you might possible that you can at one go can broadcast whatever, as you said, renewals or whatever the due dates and all those things, or even the birthdays or birthday wishes. It can be anything into the customer service which you are expecting. Not always that your front end should be interactive, because the front end will be only interactive with the AI-based model only when people are going to chase for it. Here, you are pushing your customers based on your data with the intelligence, and that is what is the business case which might have, which actually reduce the cost. But the thing is that, just extending 1 minute, we have some 4 or 5 cooperative bankers here. The very important point is that not AI, but whatever the digitization has gone in last maybe 15 years, right from rupee debit card in 2010, if I'm not wrong. The thing is that these guys, sorry to say, but these guys are pan-India exposure. they have X amount of expenses which is get divided into the pan India. We have certain limited, maybe up to a state, maybe one more state. We don't have that pan India exposure. But when we are procuring these AI systems or whatever the digital systems which we have, which are at par with this cost, that is going to stop us, even though they are very useful to us. That is the most important thing. Because we don't have that architecture at a central level, out of which I am going to, like a SaaS.
Correct.
If I am going to have my own data center, the cost will be the same, maybe a little bit more for a double of my business company is having. But here is like a iPhone. iPhone is a business phone. But sorry to say, most of the Indians doesn't know the 90% of the business, or they are not a businessman. But because everybody wants the iPhone, they are purchasing iPhone and they are paying more for it. But that is their personal level. But when it comes to a bank, this is going to be the more critical part, when actually it is going to give you output. Because you can convince your management at one go when you are purchasing it, not the second time. And that is what the issue is.
So you're saying that there are use cases at the back end, if I'm summarizing, that there are back end related use cases where the ROI or the outcome is tangible and
Can be
beneficial.
The business gain means there are certain parameters which regulator expects from banks, financially, or say to illustrate NP, CRER, all this. And for this, you require strong MIS.
Right.
MIS is required. Of course, we have not used this, but what I think, opening of account. Now there is an anti-money laundering act is there.
Right.
They circulate the big list of terrorists across all the banks. Then before opening the account, you have to verify this list. And such account should not be opened.
Correct.
Similarly, there is a STR is there, suspicious transaction, which you have to directly report to FI India Delhi. It happens many times, it's my experience, that many times, in spite of our proper verification or say due diligence, many cases are not directly seen at front end while dealing with these transactions. Okay. And these cases are referred by the competent authorities subsequently. Now take the case of accounts opened at Thane rural branches, rural branches by one group which are related to terrorist activities of that.
Okay.
So here, though we open the account with following the proper KYC, because this kind of intelligence was not there, we are not in a position to do proper justification. So I think this technology will help us to create a strong MIS. Then abnormal transactions, verify abnormal transactions related to fraud and misappropriation like that. And if the bank is following all these regulatory measures, then naturally the business gains. Because you are treated as a financially well-managed bank.
Right.
Compliant bank. So automatically business आपके पास चल के आता है.
More customers will come to you, more deposits will also
This
come
is
to you.
another way of looking into that.
How mature is the technology for detecting fraud, for detecting suspicious transactions?
Yeah, I heard, building upon the point what Sir said, there are two things in terms of AI we talk, right? There's some kind of a small demystification I might just do it. Anything which is AI is an artificial intelligence, which means there is a human intelligence which has gone in to train something which will be done on a regular basis, right? So, as a matter of fact, going on also with Aljo, what you had mentioned on the automation, there is something which is called as a process automation, which is one step before the AI, which is like a traditional AI. Like I tell, like for example, Sir said bank opening, right? Account opening. Before account opening, there are some 14 checklists which has to be done. Now, this checklist doesn't need a generative AI to come and do it. But this checklist would be good enough with a process automation. Like in this process, okay, this points are being done. For example, for an account opening, let's say someone is giving me an Aadhaar card, right? I'm able to use the Aadhaar card and use technologies which will be able to convert the copy or the scanned image into a digital data and then equate it with the data which has been filled by the person on the form. And if I'm able to do that 60-70% of it, my 80-90% of my verification is done there only. So what happens is that here, the AI as in general umbrella, we can split it into our 80-20 rule, which we've been doing. 80% of the work what we do is predominantly something which is regular and mundane in nature, clerical enough. And the remaining 20%, within that remaining 20%, we can have AI helping. I'll give you an example. Let's say, for example, there is a process in which I have to download the MIS report, take the data, look at it, and say, okay, we are in technology, so I'm not in banking, so you guys are esteemed gentlemen in banking. I'm just giving me with whatever small amount of knowledge I have. I have a data of so much customers in, I live in Thane, let's say in Thane area, right? How many of them with a CIBIL score more, and then from there, then I can kind of say, okay, this guy with a CIBIL score of anything above 60, 650 or 700, and with a cost of, let's say he's earning around 60, 70,000. Generally, I can assume that 70% of people above 70,000 rupees per month earning would at least have one loan. Right? That can be a vehicle loan, it can be a home loan or something. So that kind of generic assumptions I can take, post which I can then make this data as a feeder to my generative AI. So which is where now I'm getting to the next topic called Gen AI. So there is differentiation, just traditional AI, Gen AI, and the last is the agentic. Like sir also mentioned one more point, that connecting the front end and the back end. Right? These are multiple processes which requires multiple agents to do each and every job. For example, I have certain work which could be done by the front end. Some can be done by the back end. Some can be done by the middleware. What if I have 3 different agents doing these 3 different jobs parallelly and executing it? So this is a possibility, but 90%, while I say from the IT side, I'll also have to talk about the harsh reality, what happens. 90%, these things do not see the day, end of the tunnel, or they don't see the light of the day. 2 reasons. One, both the parties, whoever is a tech guy, with whoever is a business person, they have to come under one common goal. Understanding and where am I going to go at the end of this. That is something which needs to be clarity. And last but not the least, this is not one time. This is something which will keep rolling. Once we do certain set, then we will sit on top of it and do a reinforced learning. I completed 10 automations, then I will sit on top of the 10 automations and say, how am I going to be better on this 10? So this is where as a technology, as we rightly said, it's all about how much I can be more innovative, how much I can be more, I can happily play with the data, provided I know the result where I am taking it from. As one point, sir, I really appreciate that last point you said, that if you do all of these things at the back end, as a bank, you will be someone who would go through to a point where you're going to get more sales on. So which is actually right, because when you have your basics done right, then going on to the sales is one part. Right.
Correct. I think that point is very important, that customers want to see the basic things happening correctly. No mistakes, no delays, no errors, no confusion. That is the basic expectation. Then things happen 10x faster, or that is what in the Sone pe Sohaga, as we say in Hindi, or icing on the cake, as in English. But so perhaps the initial use cases have to be more on getting the basics done, reducing the errors, doing it faster, and those, like sir said, are not measurable so easily, like a ratio. Okay, we improved 20% or we improved 33% or something. But getting the, I think NPS score or some such measure can be used, right? Anyone using NPS and trying to correlate that with AI Anyone?
I'll talk about a use case. Like the business where we are into, I'm into the rural finance business of Tata Capital. Where the very nature of the business is dispersed set of branches, many individuals contributing to the transactions. And the problem statement here is, how do you distinguish your branches basis different parameters? There are units like you can measure on, say for example, compliance score. There are units where you can measure on the risk score, the productivity score. But putting all together, like where we have worked in and my business unit, it is like, the sector innovation you can say, is that every branch is having a composite score. We call it portfolio health check 360 degree. So you can wear a lens of, say for example, to make it short, you can wear a lens of risk assessment, and from the data lake which we are having, different kind of data are being pushed into. Say for example, if branch in some sales core, what kind of customer sourcing has it happened? What are the background credit score of this particular people? What kind of credit score these people are having? What kind of demographic score these people are having? So that pulls in for that particular branch, and what are the infinite delinquency these branches historically having? What is the resilience of the customer of this particular geography? So all these data set put together, pushed into that particular branch for the assessment, and this assessment has been done every quarter. So before each quarter, the data gets replaced, pulling data from the data lake, and gives a score for that particular branch. Similarly, from other thematic areas, like on the compliance, it is thematic area, then that becomes another thematic area. The productivity becomes another thematic area. For all these thematic areas, it pulls data from different things. Some of the things are real-time business intelligence and market intelligence as well. And I'll be able to tell this branch composite health score is 69. 69 speaks something by itself. Yeah. So that's how we have developed at the branch level score, or credit officer level score, every business unit, the areas level score, the regional level score, that talks about the objective business performance of that particular business unit. That's how it is.
So that's a very, very well-defined case that you have developed. So the ROI or the impact benefit is also measurable.
You can, with 99% accuracy, you will be able to tell the future 6 months credit score, how the credit cost this branch is leading to.
Interesting. So more of a macro level rather than customer-facing examples that mostly come up. But this is more macro. That AI is being used for the organization's own, running it more efficiently.
Enterprise level. Yeah.
Enterprise level. Okay, let's move on then. What are the most impactful sources of data for AI systems? Do your current systems give you adequate quantity and variety of data? The existing databases. And what are the sources of data? So this whole thing is about data. While you've talked about developing the AI, training the AI, like the example you gave, the data is already there. It's there in your data lake. Or some of the areas where you see that data is readily available, or the use case is there, but data needs to be plugged in.
So I'll just add on to this question. So basically, before I come to data, just a disclaimer, but we are still toying with the idea of AI internally. We are not in a tearing hurry to explore with AI because, like I said, we are in the business of money, especially other people's money, right? Depositors and everybody. So we don't want to make a mistake and suddenly one wrong whatever happens. That's why we evaluate every software at the deepest level possible and then we implement it. Because एक बार आपने implement कर दिया, you can't reverse it back. Because then it becomes a mammoth task. You can't just reverse all the systems. Coming to AI and data, I think today data is available. Now the accuracy of data is questionable to what extent the data can be made accurate. Multiple sources are there. There are third-party vendors who give you data in a much more refined format and fashion. What I need from data, or especially AI, is interpretation of the data. Will it help me in decision making? For example, people spoke about back office. Let me talk about front office. Collections activity, right? Everybody does collections to get the money back. Now, I have been collecting this data from collections, let's say, over the last 10 years, 15 years. अब इस data का क्या करूँ मैं? I know exactly I'm so and so geographies, so and so customers, so and so type A, type B customers, DPDs, everything. Can AI take that data, churn it, do whatever magic it has to do, and say, you know what? This is your JFM. I would suggest you focus on these 80% of customers on this JFM. Forget the balance 20 because they're not going to pay you anyway. You focus on this 80%, you will ensure that you meet your targets. Now that is very critical. Now, can I take that at face value? The answer is no. It can only throw some possible scenario. Just to quickly summarize, if I'm a futures trader, right? What do? I, let's say, trade in commodities or gold. Now, let's say the AI have fed all the details of gold markets, word, everything, the Chicago index, whatever it is. And then the AI says, okay, do one thing. Next week on so-and-so date, buy 5 tons of gold and so-and-so strike price. Exactly after 2 weeks, let's say the exact opposite happens, I lose my shirt. Now, the reason is why, because, we should not forget that commodity markets or stock markets, there's also a human angle, which the AI cannot capture. A lot of times people buy stocks for no rhyme or reason, right? So AI cannot match human stupidity also. You can't take that into account. So, that is where I think it is important to balance it, where you use it to aid your decision making, but don't rely 100% on it. AI ne bolde chalo ye right hoga. I think it should be able to help you to zero in on the right option. That's what I think AI at this point of time we should be looking at, not as a panacea for all ills.
That's why I think, if I can, from my understanding, one is the smaller use cases where there's no major disaster. If the system does hallucination or goes wrong or something. Other is where, like the example our friend from Tata Capital said, that everything is well understood and well thought of, and hence the system can be trusted to largely be trusted, I guess. How would you say is your 99% or something you mentioned, is that the level of trust in the system?
That's historically like we build the competency model. Say, for example, a particular branch is say, for example, a particular customer at the age group of 40 to 50, the historical behavior of that particular demography, the credit score of that particular person, and how the customer is behaving with other members. A composite score is being built up, the system has been trained in that manner, that this customer is very less likely to default. So on the collection part, that's how that we have built in the model that whenever a person goes, microfinance, the customers transact more on cash or maximum on QR code scanning. So today, 45% of our collections are through QR code scanning on the digital mode, and 55% are physical cash. But whenever the collection does not happen in a particular instance, you just cannot say that you cannot save the transaction that customer did not pay, that no repayment happened. You have to say what is the root cause behind that, and you capture root cause. One instance you capture. Second, what is the probability of the collection of this particular person? So it is again on human intelligence, the probability of you capture. But what is the next P2P date the customer is giving? That also the instance is captured. And on the back we also run the program is that if the customer is regular with other players, if the player is paid, then on that particular day, today when I'm saying like Mr. Subramanian rightly said, what is the probability for 28th of February, which are the segment of the customer, which I have to focus on a very concrete manner, when the probability of the collection is high, and the customer has paid to other lending institution, it is time for me to reach to this customer. I cannot reach to 1 million customers like today, because like say for example, I have to precisely figure out this set of 1500 customers are to be targeted today. That would boost my collection efficiency as a concerted effort for this particular day. That's how we
a lot of optimization you can
do.
So
my question,
I think, so the data when we are talking about. So when we talk about data today, right, because traditionally when we built those AI models, we used our own data, right? We used what we had and we labeled it. But with the invention of GenAI, or the foundation model, which we call it, right, which is kind of shifting the pivot, right, from where I don't have to start from scratch to get the data, but I have this foundation models which are pre-built with billions of data information, right? Like we have seen ChatGPT or the other models which are there, Llama, Meta models, right? And that gives us an edge to start on how quickly I can get on the use cases with the whole Gen AI or foundation models. That also gets us to the risk as you were discussing, right? Because how much I can trust that data, because that data has been built by, I don't know, but taken from where, right? And if you see the news and all, right, there are so many, case being filed because of IP issues. Some information which is not supposed to be used is part of that data, right? So again, safeguarding us when we are going into that foundational models or Gen AI models becomes of paramount importance, where you know what you are using, right? And then you are augmenting that data with your specific data points to make it specific to your business organization. So I think the data portion is very relevant in today's scenario.
I wanted to ask you one question specifically. Given the data that any organization here would have, structured data and unstructured data, is there anything that technology can be done to that data to make it more usable, to make it, of course, things like deduplication and cleaning up the data? I think all that technology is already there. But is there some Gen AI kind of technology that can make the data more useful or usable?
Right. So there are two parts to it, right? And as we are saying, so there is your unstructured data information which is lying in your data lake, and your structured data information which is lying in your data warehouse. Right? The new concept which everybody is talking about is how do I combine this, right? And that's something called as lake house which is coming into picture. Okay. Right? Where I want to, in a single query, want to combine both this information and give me a consolidated output of it. Again, today when we talk of data warehouse, it is either a 1 day old or even an hour old, right? But for business, I need what is happening as of now. Yes. So then the complexity is not just your unstructured and your summarized data, but even your SQL loads which I want to combine. So the whole concept of virtualizing rather than slowing down your transaction system, if I virtualize it and query from there and give a common analytic view of that. So that's one which is definitely what people are looking at. Okay. And the other places where people are actually trying to look at is like your data warehouses has grown through this ages. Right? The years where you have been just pumping in data and we are not even aware whether we need that data or not. So your storage becomes very expensive, the way you are storing. Right. And that's how, what people are doing now is the older data which you don't query much or you don't need, right? Take it out of the data warehouse and dump it into an unstructured format into a lake. So because it's lower in terms of storage, so you are optimizing on the cost. And then it benefits into the analytical perspective also.
So time value of the data.
Yes.
In respect of generation of data, genuinity of data is very important. If you are generating a lot of data, we are also generating the bank a lot of data. I think some of the bankers must be knowing we have to hold asset liability committee meeting to decide rate of interest on advances, loans and deposits, or to design a product, deposit product. Similarly, we have to prepare priority sector lending advances.
Yes.
Those bankers, they will.
Yes.
What we observe, the data and MIS which you are generating, the beginning start from the filling of that form. If that loan proposal form in the beginning not filled, then entire data जो बैक ऑफिस में डाला है उसका जो फाइनल जो जनरेशन में आता है ना वो सब गलत हो जाता है. To say there is a minority advances are there. There are some minority. there are certain advances which are related to your financial income. It used to be categorized properly. Income is to be categorized. अगर इनपुट बैक ऑफिस अगर ये अगर बराबर नहीं होता है करता है तो हमको जो डाटा मिलता है ना वो टोटली गलत हो जाता है और उसकी वजह से टेक द केस ऑफ सपोज आई वांट टू चेंज द रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट ऑन डिपॉजिट्स my MIS guy he prepares a statement, we discuss, we finalize, but the behavioral pattern of the deposit, the behavioral pattern of the advances, the behavioral pattern of the various term loan recovery which is to be in is not properly genuinely or उसको अगर realistic नहीं है तो your decision goes wrong. So what I personally see this second and third note, I think the banker provision is not satisfactory. Okay. Yes, you can give public sector bank also. After audit public sector banks, all the classification changes. It is because the data freedom is not high. Everything starts from the desk.
Many a time it becomes, it is forced upon the sales guys also. So I'll take an example from microfinance. When we initially were doing it for my previous assignment, and we were analyzing data, we found a lot of customers have same mobile number. And it was the sales guy's number. Because they don't have mobile. But mobile is a mandatory field. Without that, account will not open. Now, sometimes systems force you to do something, override it. The guys used to say, what is critical information? I have to put it correctly. Rest all, if it is non-mandatory field, skip it. Because I have to manage within this time. And what is not going to be audited and it does not make any financial effect, I should write whatever I like, just I have to pass on. So this has to be done within this time frame. So data has been there. I'll say in-house data, still the challenges can be overcome once we are moving to the digital forms. Reason being, if you go back to the old form, still, you have to write the same information so many times that it's irritating. Okay. It is irritating. How many times you have to write your own name again and again? Once you have taken that information, you should use it everywhere. Why should I write it again and again? So then digital you can solve this. You have asked me once my name, at every place wherever name column is, it could be posted there. So this data correction may happen once we have digitized forms, when people are nowadays, a lot of institutions are using tabs and all digital forms have been filled up. So that will come. The thing is, I again taking example from rural, besides internal data, the external data. We are, if today only, if we ask 4 different departments, what was the sowing of Kharif? You'll get 4 different datas. Okay. The data's collection at ground is still in the same old way. I'm taking an example from college days when I was doing my BSc Agriculture and I had to attend I had to do a project. We were visiting an area for finding out a cultivation of a particular crop in that area. We reached that place in Uttaranchal, today's Uttaranchal. We found there's nowhere that crop is grown. I said, how that government data is saying that this is so many area? Sir, जो पहले आता है, उसने बताया हर साल 3% ऐड करते रहना. So I'll just add to the solution. What is the solution? So wherever these technologies are coming up, like now today you have satellite data. Still, government departments are yet to use those databases, those technologies. Still, the data collection is not cross-checked. If somebody is saying that wheat is grown here, you can at least cross-check with the satellite data whether wheat is grown there or not. Yes. The cross-check has to be there.
So a lot of cross-check on the data is required, especially legacy data.
Now, when we are giving rural loans, we are usually creating mortgage on land. There's a lag in creating that mortgage because he will take the application and all, and system update he will do after 15-30 days. In between, he can apply another loan to another bank also. I will not come. he can even sell that also. So why not that guy still has the tablet where he can enter right away? Mortgage is immediately hitting the system.
Distribution perspective. So my name is Gayatri Venkatesan. I'm co-founder of Catnip. So, sir, as you said, I mean, digitization of the form is the first thing that would come into picture. But it is not as easy as we say because AI is not a singular journey. It comes along with different aspects from the AI itself. Like, for example, sir also mentioned about the account opening and other stuff. Now, everything has that digitization from the desk level itself, where you have the be it account filling or account opening, be it anything that starts from the desk has to be from a business automation perspective, where that process has to come into picture, complemented by the other tools, probably from a traditional AI like Santosh was mentioning. But that starts with process automation that comes into picture by digitization of the form. Then a little bit of probably OCR that comes into picture. Because if you are at a rural, like Sir said, we are in a rural place where probably that person will write in the local language there and the form filling will be completely in a local language. So that point of time, probably from OCR perspective, we need a language converter, NLPs and all those things, which can convert that local language probably into a machine language, English or something else, where that data can be fed into the core banking solutions, and that could be the base data. Like we can't do anything for the legacy data that we have because gone. I mean that's already gone and completed. But what we can have is as a start point, we can have a little bit of digitization as a solution to be introduced in the AI perspective with OCR, with a little bit of traditional AI with business automation, complemented by the generative AI. That would be one start, just a start probably because that in a banking sector that comes with a lot of responsible AI and governance and all of that. But yeah, that could be one of the start point as a solution.
But the add-on question to that is, and maybe Santosh can take it up, is that when you do projects for a particular organization, if it involves a lot of legacy data, what does your company do something about it, or is it left to the client to do something?
Yeah.
Or how does the solution emerge?
So, very interesting real-time use case which we solved during COVID times. There was one of the US-based companies, predominantly, sir actually mentioned from an agricultural point of view, so much data coming in. The US-based company wanted to have onboarding of people online. During COVID, obviously, no one can get, so there was an onboarding of people which had to go online. And the HR had to fill literally more than 30 plus forms on the day of joining, right? So typically per employee, yes, US-based company, right? So PF is a form, Aadhaar is a form. There are some multiple forms, HR had to fill 30 plus forms. So it was really a nightmare for HR to sit with 60 people coming on that single day for doing it.
Very much right, because at that point of time, robotic process automation was just coming on into picture, and people were not even like, okay, this could really fill my forms automatically. I don't believe it. That kind of perspective, and the HR has to literally sit for 6 to 7 hours with the employees, and COVID situation, so we were like totally feeling helpless. That's when we actually designed this.
So the solution was per employee, it was 8 hours. Online, they had to sit for 8 hours for an onboarding. It was reduced from 8 hours to less than 30 minutes. Simple. AI starts after automation. That's the funda which we have been seeing in organizations. Let's be very clear. Like there's always, I quote this saying, right? We as Indians, we always have some fear God, some love of God. So we say that your spirituality starts where your science ends. Right? That's what we have been hearing. Same way, generative AI generating data starts only after automation is ended. If I have not automated, the use of AI generating more data to me is like I have more dirt there, so it is going to give me data which is more dirtier. So in this simple concept, what I could see is this is one use case. Another use case where we work with one of the national organization, kind of they are into roadways on the northeastern side. The most toughest part was they want to hire people from their database which is there online. Right? People have put, this is a government organization, they want to hire people. But it was taking them more than 15 to 20 days with the help of Big Four only to do per employee validation. And all they had to do was, the Big Fours had to do was, what is my 10th certificate, 12th certificate, work experience, just go look at what he has filled to what is there in the document. In our language, if I have to say KYC verification. That kind of data, it had to do 15 days per employee. We reduced that to less than 1 day. So the advantage is how we actually see the problem and see the solution, where AI is a tool. As many of the, there's a clear point that use it as a tool. If we are starting to use it as a tool to a certain extent, yes, as we rightly said, it can't really match a human thing, and there is no point also. Today we talk about Gen AI, tomorrow there is going to be something else. Right? So it's not going to match human. It is basically how much I can reduce my work and how much I can put it to better use for my, betterment of my people. Like for example, I don't want the same clerk in the organization to keep doing the same job for 15 years and he gets bored one day. Rather, I use him for something better in life.
Interesting.
I think, I didn't realize this problem because we have the advantage of not having to worry too much about legacy, right? While we've been around for a while, so we did build a little bit of legacy and we did go through the journey of cleanup as well. But I think one step that we've taken is we've completely kept user-entered data out of our systems. So all the data, including the name being entered, are all being pulled through APIs. Any information about the user is getting enriched through APIs, right? So the moment you're able to do something of that nature, it gives you a little bit more confidence. Now, you could still argue that it depends upon the best efforts of the regulated institution that did the KYC and tagged that data before entering the government database. But it's still comfortable, I would say, as long as you're not taking lending decisions or giving money on the basis of that, which I think is absolutely critical. Just from cohortization, marketing, segmentation perspective, it's still okay to deal with that.
So yeah, there are so many use cases where complete accuracy is not critical.
Absolutely.
But the efficiency that it improves or the productivity that it brings. Let's say the example Santosh gave of reducing 15 days to 1 day. Because even humans make mistakes. And the example that Pradeep was giving, 15 days the mortgage could have moved to somewhere else. So even if your data is accurate, it's still obsolete.
Even if you recollect, there was a national news on it when Andhra and I think Narenji will know, when Andhra and Telangana were divided, the land documents were being changed. And during that period, no mortgage charge could be identified. People sold their lands, they got a new loan on it, and then banks have to do all the cleanup.
One is obviously no data gets in without triangulation, because the same data could come from multiple sources. The second thing that you do is you define 3 sets of processes. You have a red, amber and a green process. A green is straight through because everything vanished. Amber still requires more validation, which means that it's not going to cohortization. And red means that there is physical intervention needed, without which the data can't get into your system.
So let me summarize that I think AI, since we are still in phase 1, we need to focus more on those cases where the data is clean, where the data is reliable, where the data is sufficient breadth and depth of data, there's no gaps in data, where it is modern data and not legacy data. I think those should be the use cases, at least in phase 1. Once things start working there smoothly.
As you said, we should have data where we have another data to cross-check it.
So there has to be a trustworthy data which should be a base of any of the organization unit. Once you have the trustworthy data in that particular case, you can, once that base is required very much, and once that is there, then only you can apply the automation, then a Gen AI onto it. So the base should be really clean. I understand then we move from legacy to digitization, there are a lot of gaps. And I have seen it being a banker for a very short duration. I have seen it that whenever there is a migration, the major challenge is how much the valuable or the authentic the data is. whatever format you are looking for and how it has been moved to the another format. So that is something which is very much required. So we always talk about the automation Gen AI, whereas the data transformation, the data trustworthiness, the authenticity of data is something which should be a base of any organization in order to move into the digitization world.
So Santosh, I want to ask Santosh one question. If a typical organization wants to use AI on top of an existing system, let's say a lending system or a fraud management system or a collection system, is it better if that application is brand new and digital and everything? Or is it better if that application has 5-10 years of history?
Sir,
Which is a better use case?
Sir,
Mike.
First and foremost is, older the data, I get more value out of it. That is by default the fact. But if the data is older and not clean, then obviously I can't help it. Right? So this is the first premise I would want to keep it. Second thing is, from a use case point of view, as Sir said, there are certain things we can start with. There are certain things where we should not touch till we have the maturity in the process. For example, I'll give you an example where we have, we're doing currently with certain of this RBI things with the banks. Right? Now, there is a RBI notification that comes to each and every bank in terms of what is the IT team has to do, what is the bank has to do. So RBI notification, RBI circular, everything which is there coming to the bank in the email. But obviously not everyone is having time to read it and go through it, right? But what can be done is, we have made Gen AI go and get these notifications from the RBI portal only. It's very common, even as a commoner I can do it. Get the data and give it through a prompt. Whereas banker, I can go and say, boss, what is this I want? What is the regulation from RBI from a ALM point of view? Sorry, AML point of view, anti-money laundering. I'm just giving an example. Right? It will start giving me, this is the latest one which the RBI has said, along with the document reference. Now, whatever is the guidelines which RBI has set, I can go and figure out that if the guidelines set by RBI is 8, let's say level 8, am I at level 8 or am I at level 9? One level above RBI is mentioned. So I can do my self measurement, right? Level 7 to level 8 or level 8 to level 9. So if I am done, like the risk rating you said, we can have the risk rating kind of a thing done across multiple points, as you rightly said. So I can give the rating, like I want to give, very, very good point you said was, not always on the risk rating when you mentioned that for certain branches where the sale itself is very tough, that branch is never going to be at level of 1 to 10 and going to be at 8. Even if the branch is at 4 and they have come to 5, that itself is a big thing. So likewise, we can have certain things, but at the same time, where we would not want to touch is the Daksh portal. Daksh portal is where RBI is telling every banker to go and feed the data in. And there are two people there. One is the person who feeds in, the second is the person who is authorizing in. So there is a maker and there is a checker. Then it is going to the RBI. Now here, can I use automation to do it? RBI themselves would not be happy to get that automation. But preparing the data for that, obviously a Gen AI, an automation can do it. So here is where we have to draw the line. Taking the data which will be sufficient for me to give it to the Daksh portal, a Gen AI can do it. An AI can be there. But feeding it inside the portal, it's not that it can't do it, but it is not advisable. So same way, the solution is never going to be something straightforward. It is going to be tailor-made, but if it is made for one bank, since the banking procedure is predominantly more or less similar, whether it's a large bank or a small bank, we can have it like, it's like a pizza base, which I have made and I know there are multiple things which we can work out. But the solution has to be very clear where I have to stop, where I have to start.
Well, we are talking about data, and we're talking about old data, we're talking about incorrect data. There's one aspect of data which I want to highlight is the rarity of data.
Rarity?
Yes. So I've seen this problem that there are some very high value events, but previous occurrences of that event are very rare.
Okay.
Now, how do I manage that? Because if I have to really train my system based on the rare event, which is a very high value event, how do I? That is where Gen AI also comes into the picture. That means you can actually do some synthetic data generation based on the 2 or 3 instances of this, and that is where I've seen Gen AI really excel.
So this is the actual synthetic data generation for mimicking or simulating a rare event is something which GenAI excels fantastic.
One area where I see
One kind of use cases which we have been discussing throughout, where I'm taking a decision. I'm doing a prediction, right? Whether you will pay, not pay, right? Where the data is very important, and the quality of the data will be definitely giving us the edge of how that decision is made. Right? The second kind of use cases, and this is what GenAI has brought us, right? One is how I can augment or help my internal employees to do their work better. Right? This could be use cases where for the marketing department, for example, they want to come out with a campaign of a new launch based on the channel of delivery, based on what I want to create as a content. That can be automatically created. Second is, I have a knowledge of a repository, like my circulars, policies which are there. Right? For me, if I have to go through that to find answers, instead of that, I use GenAI to give me answers readily. Right? As simple as whether how much leave I can carry forward when I join an organization. Right? Or it could be as complex as if this is an NRI account, what all documents I have to keep to open that account. An assistant to the branch, right? Or even an assistant to the feet on street people, as what is that I can sell based on the demographic where the user is or what input is giving me, right? So assisting them, right? And then even summarizing document when we are talking about, right? Like when I'm processing a mortgage, they have to go through a lot of documents, like the histories of the transfers which has happened, right? All those agreements. If GenAI can summarize and tell me what was the lineage of the property and change and whether that is marketable or not marketable, well, it is not taking decision, but helping the underwriter to take decision faster and better informed decisions, right? And the generation, even like if I am doing a new product launch for an insurance company, there is a lot of back end work which goes in, right? From changing my core system to adapt to the new policy rules, or even how am I paying to my agents, or even my applications which the users or the end customer would be using to include that additional product. Right? Whether I can reduce that cycle, which is currently taking me 3 to 4 months with a new product, to a 2 or 3 week cycle. But GenAI can help you create that codes automatically, create those rules automatically, and you just validate and push those.
So essentially, I think what I'm getting is that GenAI is very good at handling when there's a lot of text. Whether it's company policy, whether it is RBI guidelines, whether it is legal documents, whether it is property documents, business documents, where there's a lot of documents and text. I think and because GenAI was created on text. All the original GenAI.
And that's one of the use cases we was mentioning from the trade finance process also, right? Because there are invoices and so many documents which you want to process, extract information, compare information, and highlight.
Personal case बताता हूँ एक example quickly, just since we're talking about solutions. I think where Gen AI can start with, especially whenever I go to these conferences, I speak with a lot of vendors also in a company, Companies spend a huge amount of money on software, right? After board approvals, करोड़ों पैसा खर्च करते हैं. Now suddenly if AI comes and says, ये कौन software बकवास है, you take our software, चाहे वो Oracle हो, Sales, जो भी हो, without taking names. They are not going to change the software overnight and once again, spending crores of rupees. I think the low-hanging fruit is, you look at the software, existing software which is there. If Gen AI can come and make certain tweaks to that and say, I'll make it better. At least that will work for the next 3, 4, 5 years. ये नहीं कि मैं पूरा सॉफ्टवेयर को उखाड़ दूँ, पूरा Gen AI को पूरा बना दूँ उसमें बैठ के. For example, अभी जैसे फोन है, ओप्पो का है या कुछ भी है, उसमें they have launched a new AI software, right? What does it do? It doesn't reformat your phone or anything. Small quirks. For example, if I'm reading an Outlook article, I just have to press that AI reader. It scans that article and gives me 5 basic points, which is more than enough for me. That is a value add. It is not changing the entire software of the phone. It's not so intelligent that it is making a call on my behalf. It's speaking on my behalf. वो चाहिए नहीं मुझे आज की तारीख में. Small quirks. I think existing AI vendors, if they can come with certain small solutions and say, you are using FinOne, you're using Salesforce, no problem. You continue using it. I will increase the productivity, let's say, by a certain ratio, which should do wonders for you. You don't need to change the entire thing. You don't need to go to your board and get 15, 20 crore approval. Ukhado usko pehle, medal lagao. None of that. Small baby steps, pluck the low-hanging fruits. I think that's where people will get a hang of AI also, whether it's working or not. Even if it's not working, you don't have to lose sweat that you didn't spend a huge amount of money, you found out, etc.
So I think basically suggesting coexisting rather than rip and replace.
I mean, somewhere you have to figure out, how you can augment it without disrupting the entire thing. That's what I feel.
So there is value in what is existing. You're saying there is value in existing. Don't throw it out just because you got a fancy new toy.
Yeah, so as you rightly said, sir, we have done something similar very recently, as of last week, to one of the manufacturing organizations. I'll just give you this simple use case in a minute. They have SAP. Every manufacturing organization, ERP is SAP, right? And all they want is, we went and we showed the GenAI to the CEO. First thing he asked is, this is really good. How is it going to help me on my day-to-day basis? As a CEO, I need to measure 5 parameters. Sales, right? Multiple departments I have to measure. So we did the whole thing in terms of, apart from the text, GenAI has a very good ability of integrating it with the current systems also. And we can clearly tell you that we don't need to give a new software. We can use it with the existing systems. Be it GenAI from IBM is having more integrations than anything which you can imagine. But what happened later was the most interesting. We came and we did the demo. We had coming with a lot of things. Now the CEO is coming and saying, okay, fine, show me the demo. All we had was this plain page. Down below there was a simple thing saying that please type the question, like certain questions which has been asked. He's saying, I'm blank, I don't know what question to ask. Very simple. He's saying, I'm blank, I don't know what question to ask. Then he said us, instead of you telling me, instead of I knowing what question to ask, why don't you put certain headers like sales? You put this, when the moment I click on the icon as a sales, it starts giving me all the data from a sales point of view. Then I will ask more questions. As a head of the organization, I have so much data running in mind. I don't know what to ask. You give me. So this is something where today, this is becoming the most important thing called agents in AI, which we call it as agentic AI. Agents in AI, which is agentic AI. What is agents in AI? Very, very simple. We said traditional AI will do the job what I have taught this to do. Gen AI will take the data generation from my existing business. Now what if I wanted both of them together under one single head? That's agentic AI. Generative AI will generate the data. The remediation will be done by the agentic AI. So agentic AI is a combination of the data which is getting generated from my business and the agents which is going and complete it. For example, I was telling like middleware, a front end, back end. What if I have 3 different agents for 3 different things? I have a front end agent which will do the front end job. Back end agent will do the back end job. Middleware agent will do the middleware job. Now when I have 3 different agents doing this job, I have got overall collated. But this is where for a person, for an organization who has not even started the automation journey, they will think, hey boss, I have not even started the automation journey. Do you think? It's the same. Like for example, someone who has never driven a Maruti Ambassador, right? I have never driven an Ambassador car, right? My son maybe would never even know what is a gear car. For him, automatic is more than enough. And his life goes on automatic. We can go and say, boss, we have started with gears in hand and from there we moved on. That is all good. But for our future generation, electric and automatic is just becoming the day of the day. Same way, who has not done the automation, they can easily get into the bandwagon of agentic. So agentic is having agents specifically doing the job, what is being told. I have an agent to do XYZ job, it will do it. Like that, I can create multiple hundreds of agents. Right? So as you rightly said, sir, the game starts with start low as possible. Do not try to hit the core. Instead, hit the periphery and do with what is there. This is right. And more or less, most of the vendors, most of the solution providers are going ahead with this kind of a logic only.
Adding to it, 2 points where I feel that you can step in. You may step in. One will be there are existing systems which are doing, and they were built with the intelligence available that time, upgraded over a period of time. But still there are missing links. If a system is capable of reading all what various regulators and agencies have issued and cross-checking my system, where all are the gaps? Second, the basic function, if you have heard, every time here and there you feel that this bank was penalized for this thing, this bank was penalized for this thing. Despite having all the audits, internal audit and everything, why can't somebody read the policy and check in my system whether the basic KYC was there or not? It will save my crores.
Correct, correct. And it's a big brand, this thing. Whenever on the newspaper,
More than money, it's
newspapers love to
reputation.
highlight, by the way. This bank was fined so many crores and whatnot. Badnami. So I want to invite IBM to make a brief presentation. They want to talk about, they have this Watson X AI. And IBM has actually one of the pioneers on AI with that blue, what was that big blue chess playing thing and whatnot. Which was the first machine to defeat.
And collaborated with Wimbledon. So in Wimbledon, the live matches which was going on, what is the severity of the stroke which the player are doing, what will be the speed, the measurement of speed, the different parameters which can at the end of the game can define how well the player played, what can be improvised in the game which has been played. So these are few of the parameters which we have collaborated with Wimbledon and try to identify within while the match is going live. So that's a live streaming which has happened, and at the end of every stroke there is a conclusion of what is the proximity of getting it missed from the another opponent, what is the energy through which it has been stroked. So these are the different parameters which we have identified during a live match. So I would just like to invite you maybe in the next event where we keep this table tennis table within our events where you can play live and see the summary of how you guys are playing. So with respect of time, I'll just start with the presentation. I think we have already discussed a lot about what is the traditional AI and how it has emerged from traditional MLs to the foundation models. So I'll just move on to the next slide where I'll just try to give a high-level glimpse of how we can differentiate between the traditional AI models and the foundation models. So when we talk about the traditional AI, we understand that in the traditional AI models, whatever models has been created, they are more of a use case based. So there are a lot of data, a lot of efforts put into the system in order to create a model which is specific to a use case, and then probably the data which we have involved or invested into it for the training purpose cannot be reutilized in the other models because it is very use case specific. That ultimately result in creating siloed individual models that cannot be reused further for the other use cases or the other business case scenarios. In this particular system, what has happened is there are a lot of data which has been trained on a specific modules and everything. So there is no general purpose data which can be reutilized and reinvested within the system. So it involves a lot of efforts, the financial resources and everything which is being consumed. And there is specific to the training on which the data is being trained. So there is no general purpose training which has been provided. And last but not the least, there are a lot of efforts required in order to train humans who are going to use these data. With the evolution of data, when the foundation models come into the picture, we have realized and identified that there are general purpose data and a huge amount of general purpose data is being used. So rather than creating individual users or use case specific models, we have created a platform which we call as Watson X. This Watson X platform basically have been trained on a millions of tokens provided to the system, and these are general purpose. When we talk about general purpose, there are pre-trained data and on a lot of test case scenarios, a lot of business use cases, and then on the basis of need which you have in the organization, you can further fine-tune, prompt-tune and short-tune these data and make a use of it. So that's a high-level differentiation what we do for the traditional models and the foundation models. Going further, from IBM, strategy perspective, we believe in having the 5 truths of data when it comes to the generative AI. The first and the foremost is multimodal data. We understand that when we talk about multimodal, someone might be thinking that it is again bringing us to the use case specific approach which has been followed in the previous traditional levels. However, when we talk about multimodal, what we see is there is a platform which has multiple models on which it has been trained and tuned. Now it completely depends, and what IBM feels is not every model suits every business requirement. So there has to be something specific which has to be tuned, the data has to be tuned on in order to achieve the business goals. So that's the ultimate goal of having the multimodal approach, where you have this a lot of functionality like open source models, which is there in the system currently, and giving a lot of business benefits to the customers. In addition to this, what we can do with multiple model approach is we can prioritize the cases. When we talk about the prioritization, everyone wants to adopt AI, but at the same time, they do not want to invest a hell lot of time in order to tune that models. So this particular multimodal approach can help them to quickly prioritize in the cases which they want to adopt. The another one is hybrid cloud approach. So we, with the recent acquisition of Red Hat OpenShift, our IBM solution watsonx is platform agnostic. So we, you want to implement or adopt a model on-prem, over the cloud, or over hybrid structure. It can be utilized and consumed in any format. You can create the model basis on the foundation models provided in the system, be it Hugging Face, Meta. We have a close collaboration with such kind of providers. Other than this, we have our own flagship model which we call as Granite. And it is platform agnostic. So you can build models on the same platform, or you can bring your existing models onto the platform and utilize it. The third and foremost part which IBM pays a lot of attention is governance. So everyone wants to adopt Gen AI, want to play around the data and be in the race, which is because it's a buzzword these days. But how we can optimize it, we can use it smartly while compiling to the government regulation and everything is something which we cover as a part of governance. So there is a basic or a primary level of governance layer present by default in the solution watsonx. On top of it, if you want to have the additional governance layer, we have the solution in the offering which is known as watsonx.governance that can bring all the standard regulation, be it RBI regulation, SEBI, your IRDA or anything that can be imposed on top of it. The third and fourth is where we value the scale of data, how large the data is and how much the ROI is coming out of the generative AI you guys are using. And every data matters. So be it a small data or a big one. As I told earlier also, the transformation of data, how well it is transformed, how trustworthy it is, and how well you can utilize it is something which is of worth. Moving forward, a little glimpse of the solution I'm talking about, which is watsonx. So as I told, there are 3 key pillars of the solution, starting with watsonx.data, which will help you to train, validate, and tune and deploy your AI models, be it your own models which is existing in the system and you want to transform, or you want to build a new model onto the platform. The second offering is watsonx.data, where you just transform the data, ingest the data, transform it, and then probably create workflows and automation onto it is something which is a part of watsonx.data. And the governance is the last but the foremost, which enables you to do the transformation in a more responsible and sensible way, and that can help you to avoid few of the current issues, be it the hallucination, be it the biasness, be it any other issue which these days regulatory are majorly focusing on. Moving on.
Okay.
Moving on. These are few of the common use cases, the generative AI use case, which we have implemented with majority of our BFSI customer, be it banking or insurance. So I'm not sure. There are few folks from the insurance sector. So the if I understand correctly, the insurance part, is there anyone from insurance currently in the room or they just moved out?
There was one person here from SBI and
Okay. So I'll just cover it up later. But from the BFS side, we have been working closely with a lot of private sector and government banks where majority of the agentic AI chatbots or the generative AI chatbot is something which the customers are using, be it your contact center, be it the internal policies, be it the internal knowledge management which needs to be generated. All the governance when it comes to RBI regulations and how to summarize it, what are the compensatory controls for the regulation which has been given. These are a few of the key highlights which we have worked with within the BFSI sector. The common use cases which I have just listed down is again the RAG use case where we can do a Q&A. Santosh was just talking about, you just have to type and someone is saying why will I type. So in that particular case, we have we can tune or train the system in such a way that by the time you select the business unit and the category of topic you want to get into, there are some of the probable questions which get populated within the system. So maybe when we talk about sales, do we want to understand the sales incentive? Do we want to understand the last year's sale? In your region, what is the last month's sale which has been done? Which are the most sold products? So these are few of the common questions based on the intelligence of model is what we populate within the system, and that can help the person to even save the time to type it and think about it. When we talk about the classification, classification is something when every organization has a lot of complaints, a lot of fraud threats and vulnerability risk which is there in the system. The what's next.ai then again help the customer in order to classify the threats, the complaints, etc. It can also impose the intelligence of sentiment analysis and the biasness and the other issues which is there in the market, and that can give you a visuality of what is the risk and how you can mitigate it, along with the risk score, which is a need of the hour in these days. The third one is the content generation. As we were discussing, I think the marketing campaign is one of the hot topic where along with the content basis on a few of the inputs which you provide, the content will be generated, what can be circulated on which social media platform can also be distinguished, and along with that the associated images or the the taglines in multiple languages that can be eye-catching taglines and can help you to have a better campaign. That is something which can be created as a part of content creation. The summarization part again goes to your be it your VAPT reports, be it your AppSec reports, whether it is ERC finding or any of the regulation document which needs to be summarized and give you a glimpse of what are the key highlights and what are the action you need to take about it, and if the current set of data is available, what will be the compensatory controls. The third one is, the last two is majorly the named entity where you want to extract the essential information out of the unstructured data. So everyone can work very smoothly when it comes to the structured data format. Unstructured data is something which is a little tricky still at this point of time. So we work with the entity, recognition. We work on the identification of various parameters, which is a part of unstructured data. And the last one is the insight extraction, where we just try to identify, read a medical report of an individual, and based on that we can identify what are the probable causes of having this XYZ disease, based on the current numbers of various parameters, which is a part of it. So these are few of the use cases. Majority of them we have implemented in BFSI. We are working very closely with the insurance sector and try to work very much in order to bring the go-to-market time when it comes to development of new product, and maybe the configurator, the complex calculation which usually insurance sector do in order to find out the best suited product and maybe the EMI schedule for them. So this is something which we are working very closely with them. I understand that when it comes to the generative AI adoption, these are few of the major ethical issues which every organization fears about. The first one is the explainability. So whenever there is audit comes and any point which get caught into it, the first question is how can you explain that the action which has been taken for this particular case is a ethical one. We have faced some cases where few of our customers, I cannot quote the name, but one of the banking sector just got an audit point where it has been imposed or questioned by the RBI guys that this particular decision of not providing a loan to a woman is a biased case where the gender equality was not there, and maybe the religion is a major contributing parameter, and that's the reason the loan has not been provided. That particular customer of ours is using the What's Next Now platform. They have the capability of explainability, and within a duration of few minutes, the report has been extracted and provided in front of the RBI guys, stating that it is not a case of biasness. They have tweaked the parameters just in front of them in order to prove it that this is not a case of biasness, and that is the level of explainability we bring with the system when we talk about it. The other one, again, the trust factor. So when these parameters of bias, explainability and ethics club together, that brings trust to the customer. Be it the trust of our customer on us, or be it the end user who is looking for a trust on the organization they work with. These are few of the talking points. I'll just skip it. So we have talked a lot about. When I move on to governance, I just would like to take a pause and welcome the questions if any of you guys have with respect to whatever we discussed over here.
I think those examples you gave make it very clear that organizations can pick and choose and start moving in those with a high degree of confidence.
I think the questions are more fundamental to the building blocks itself, right? Because I mean, obviously, companies like IBM have got a huge repository historically of code that has existed to do certain modular tasks, right? And this has started since the days of service-oriented architecture, where these things have been bundled and these things were being imported internally to create that. So one is, I think the governance of the code that you put into the context for Watson, for it to be imported itself becomes extremely important. Now, it becomes complex when you start combining models that exist within the organization with these models. Because ultimately, the biggest thing I'm concerned about is it's not a problem right now because everyone's going for speed, and like you rightly said, it's a 40% benefit on speed and 25, and divided by 25 is a huge benefit on cost, and that's a reality today, right? I mean, it's not even fictional. The problem is, what does this do to the organizational enterprise architecture 3 years down the line? Without the organization having the governance being put in place to manage the entire architecture, once they start importing their own code into the base.
So when you talk about it, it's like the code, first of all, which is being placed into the system is again goes through a lot of governance and compliance. And with respect to the 3 years down the line, how the code is being managed. So again, a lot of compliance is something which has been put onto it. So not only the compliance, we are helping the customer to achieve it. There are some internal compliance. So Granite, which is our flagship model, has it has gone through multiple.
Yeah, the problem is not with Granite. The problem is with the maturity of the organization implementing Granite and combining it with something else. And
that will be needed from AI.
Absolutely.
Will there be Chinese walls or something?
No, there's no need for Chinese walls. What I can see in the model is the governance and the maturity to manage that, and it's very early days for it. So because this will be probably a problem that will be solved in 3 years from now.
Actually, it is. In governance, there is a specific module which covers the entire life cycle of an AI project.
I was about to come on that, yeah.
Because the base model is not of no use unless you combine with your organizational data with it, because it is a use case which is built with that knowledge.
So I think increasingly what I'm seeing and the way things might evolve is, I think when service-oriented architectures came about, we spoke about this role of an enterprise architect. right, which never really materialized to its full potential.
Yes.
I think 3 years down is when you're going to see that come to
Because we see that governance is not optional, right? This is a day one requirement.
Correct.
We're talking about.
Let's go on, let's go through the main points.
So talking about governance, when we talk about the AI building block, we talk a lot about assistants. There are a lot of assistants. Everyone will be like, we have this chatbot, that chatbot. But when assistants gets combined with agents and the different models which is being there in the system, along with the right set of data, again it is of not any use unless it is being governed properly. And that is where we brought the solution of ours, which is known as what's-next.governance. These are few of the studies which we have ingested from the different case studies, be it Goldman Sachs or others. And we have identified that around 35 million fine has been imposed over the EU AI Act for the non-compliance issues. And out of that, there are 73% of IT leaders which are concerned about the bias outcome, as I have discussed a few minutes back. And there are a lot of concern with respect to security as well. And that's the reason that increases the complexity, and majority of the stakeholders when it comes to C-level executive, they at some point of time are a little hesitant while doing the adoption for generative AI. And that is where we bring the solution that with a business strategy that it cannot be succeed without the AI governance. And when we talk about AI governance, it is more about constantly changing regulation from the different regulatory authorities, be it the multiple stakeholders which is a part of the system, the manual error. Within the past few hours we talk a lot about the human errors, the data which is being input into different forms and not being correct, or a dummy data has been imposed. So these kind of manual and error prone document is something which is needed. With every adoption of Gen AI use case, there is an increased risk, and that can actually make the data vulnerable. And in order to overcome all these cases, we have the what's-next.governance, where we work on the risk mitigation. We manage the AI securities and the different regulation which has been imposed. We have made a centralized visibility of all the action or all the compliance, all the risk or the mitigation which is required. So there are centralized dashboard which can give you and help you to understand if you are compliant to certain regulations or not. Also, we have the automated model documentation that can help you to understand what model you are using and what it is doing actually, because it is very much essential to understand that what you are using, how it is working, and what is the final crux of it. And last and not the least one is the robust framework in order to manage the regulation is something which we do. And all these offerings are a part of what's-next.ai. In what's-next.ai, we have 3 major pillars.
So you will just speed up. So we are actually running late now.
The 3 major pillars are, we basically take care of the complete AI lifecycle governance. We manage the risk and security issues which is a part of it, and make sure that the system are compliant. I have talked a lot about it, and what has added on to all these things is the platform agnostic feature of what's next, and that can help us to do it along with the governance layer which we have. A glance of how the governance look like and what are all the things we manage under the part of governance. So when we talk about it, we manage the model inventory, risk assessment, the different workflows, dashboards, and the issue management which is there. We make sure that there are AI fact sheets for all the models which is being used, and that can cover the end-to-end life cycles of it. And at the last, we have the AI observability, where we define the guardrails, the rules, and which is very much needed in order to manage the health of the model and make it a consistent, so that the anomalies which we have noticed so far should not be there in the system. These are few of the highlights I think that can be found in Google. So with respect of time, I think I'm good.
Can you summarize in 2-3 sentences all the key points, so that is something people can take away?
So when we talk about AI and governance, when we talk about the adoption of AI and the generative AI, the first and foremost is how we are ingesting the data, which is at the very primary level, that how the data is being ingested, how it is being transformed using the ETL, OLAP, kind of technologies. Once the data is ingested, how we are transforming and then storing the data in a meaningful format so that it can be further automated and the generative AI can be imposed on it. So that's a complete cycle. Any step which is being missing into it can, in the data which you guys are looking for, and it cannot be help you meaningfully in making the business decisions. What I feel. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. That's a good encapsulation. So friends, thank you all very much. Anyone wants to make any final comments, any takeaways, any thoughts?
So
something that we have not covered so far.
Can we do a demo of what he was talking like?
Okay, let's ask the people. Do you want to see a demo?
No.
Yes, no, maybe? It's running late actually. We had quite a broad and deep discussion. So again, any final comments or takeaways from anyone? But otherwise we are done.
I think this was a good stage to understand the AI. We are old-fashioned, basically, and
that's what
whatever
me.
Yeah, but whatever we have discussed is all about what we have. Okay, what is coming, what data is getting generated. I think face detection is just recently approved by government and it is coming. Okay, so it will generate lots of data. So what is coming is what we need to look at, I believe. And I don't know how many trillions of data are getting generated, and it will help very fast. Forget about 10 years data, talk about 1 year's data which will generate hundreds years of data within 1 year.
I will just add
yes.
Interesting. I thoroughly enjoyed listening to the different perspectives, but what struck my view is I wanted to share this metaphor. Okay. You all know there are a lot of heavy process biased industries running in the country, like Reliance Oil and Gas, thermal power plants, nuclear plants. Okay. After 1980, if you see, the accidents have come down drastically. Okay. In fact, the number of accidents after 1980 is nil. Any idea what is the reason for that? Any idea?
Data.
Okay. Very good point is I was so much impressed with Ms. Joshi's finishing touch. She told that no matter what AI or the algorithm and everything, the data collection at all levels has to be very appropriate. Okay. So in 1970, a team of scientists in Purdue formulated an architecture called Purdue IT Enterprise Architecture. That's a foundation for entire IT industry, upon which all organized industries are made from unorganized industries. All organized processes are made from unorganized process. That includes even the Bitcoin, crypto. Okay, so it's a step-by-step architecture. Since you all are into banking, you can adopt that particular. In fact, all of your IT architecture is based upon the Purdue IT architecture. It's a step-by-step architecture which starting from the data collection from sensors. Okay, all the process industry has a very robust adoption of Purdue architecture. Because of that, data is collected in a fail-safe mechanism.
Okay.
Okay, so if you see, you would have hardly seen after 1980 any turbine getting blasted or any power plant boiler getting blasted. Okay, or any oil and gas fertilizer refinery going for a blast. Okay, in a very huge fashion. Because these controllers are trained with an algorithm which captures the data in a structured fashion using Purdue IT architecture with an algorithm embedded with fail-safe options embedded so that it cannot happen that the controller can be bypassed. It's like a fail-safe algorithms. So at the end of the day, what I understand, AI is nothing but a Purdue IT architecture upon which an algorithm is running with human-machine algorithm on training that machine very repeatedly for a fail-safe output. That's what. So you can always take this particular Purdue architecture as a base of your IT digitalization as a foundation. That way the data capture is very robust.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's good to know that it has achieved that kind of safety because industrial accidents, I remember, used to be very common.
So what is
Now we hear of more of road accidents and railway accidents, but not the industrial accidents.
It's Purdue IT architecture. It's called Purdue University. Purdue IT Enterprise Architecture.
Very interesting. Something new actually.
Great. Chali. Thank you all. Thank you so much.